All right, so this is going to get really interesting because they talk about do-it-yourself style. The director of the film is about to position the chairs for everybody on stage because they wanted someone extra to pay for it to happen, but this is super low budge. Funded this tour myself, so this is what's happening. So before, thank you so much. That was really cool. A lot of people said it was crazy to put this on in Montreal because not a lot of people watch MuchMusic, but I'm seeing a full house down here. I'm seeing everyone locked into the film, and that was a tremendous ovation there at the end that I really appreciate. My publicist told me not to mention this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So recently, collectively, the music labels in this country they threatened to stop my tour. They threatened a cease and desist letter. They wanted me to pay for every single licensed music that's in that film. There's a major label in this country where I used over 40 of their artists' interviews. Now, of course, there's a law that I follow called fair use, which gives the power to independent filmmakers to use 10 to 15 seconds. I'm sure you see it on YouTube. They use it in major motion pictures. And I hired legitimately the lawyers out of California who wrote the book on fair use. So that film is airtight. I have insurance. Now, these music labels, and some people that work for the labels are here this evening, and I want to let you know that you can keep forward and bring the lawsuit that's coming. That's fine. That's fine, because I have a whole tour, and that's what's going to pay for the legal. But I want you to know that every time I have... This film took me 6 years to make, and my suggestion is focus on promoting Canadian music and Canadian artists instead of trying to tear down people that are sharing part of Canadian history and revolutionary music journalism. So my ask tonight, thank you. My ask tonight, my producing partner is also my wife. That's how I was able to put our house up. She agreed. She's working the merch stand. I'm not going to do a GoFundMe, but if you, on your way out tonight, want to buy a MuchMusic t-shirt or a hat, the proceeds are going to go to a very good cause at this point, I'll be honest with you. So I really do appreciate it. I guess it's time to call up some of the stars of the film, along with some very iconic Music Plus VJs here tonight. And I'd like to kick things off because my French is je ne sais pas français. Even though I have a French last name, I feel like I'm letting down ancestors of mine. Genevieve Bourne, everybody.
Et comme on est à Montréal, on a donc décidé de partager la scène avec des animateurs de Musique Plus et de MuchMusic. Je m'appelle Geneviève Borne. J'étais VJ à Musique Plus de 1992 à 2000. Et maintenant, on va accueillir sur scène The OG, un des premiers VJ de MuchMusic. Il était là des tout débuts de 1987 jusqu'à 1993. Please welcome on stage Mr. Michael Williams. Yes.
It's good to be home again.
Des Maritimes que Musique Plus a eu, Monsieur Pierre Landry, VJ de 1996 à 2002. We know him as Rick the Temp, VJ from 1996 to 2005. Mr. Rick Campanelli, welcome to the stage. trouvailles ce soir, vraiment. Elle était la reine de Musique Plus. Oui, mes chéris, Sonia! Sweetheart, please welcome to the stage the beautiful, talented, legendary Erica M. To see you. Donc, il y a des retrouvailles ce soir. On ne travaillait pas ensemble, on était dans deux villes différentes, mais on faisait exactement le même travail. Puis vous avez remarqué qu'il y a des émissions de MuchMusic qui avaient le même titre, qu'il y a des émissions de Musique Plus, tout ça. Donc, c'est pour ça qu'on s'est bien identifié à cette émission. Ah, on peut peut-être le mettre devant nous par terre. Pierre, veux-tu te rapprocher de Sonia? Oui! Hi. So just like the rock stars you've interviewed, you've been on a Canadian tour presenting this movie. So how has it been for you to reminisce all these souvenirs, all these memories across these cities?
Well, let me share something that no one probably knows but Sonia and a few other people at Music Plus. The original demo for Music Plus was done all over the city with me and a MuchMusic crew in my backyard in Montreal West. And there was a certain part where the lights, the power had run out of the lights, so my last throw I was doing it with headlights from a Ford car that we had commandeered, just so you could see it. And being from Chaume and being from Montreal, I would always get really comfortable when I would leave Montreal or Toronto, and I would fly back to Montreal. The first 2 years of MuchMusic for me, I lived in Montreal and flew down to Toronto. So I'd go 4 down, 5 off, come back, work at Chaume, work at CKGM, because I just couldn't leave.
Incredible. Welcome back to Montreal, Michael Williams.
It's nice to be back.
And that's very interesting because Sonia will explain it to us. The first years of Musique Plus, les premières années de Musique Plus, étaient enregistrées à partir de Toronto. Donc, c'est comme si tu as commencé dans les studios de MuchMusic.
On a commencé.
Ouais.
On a commencé dans les studios. We started in the studios of MuchMusic because we weren't sure we were going to get the license for Musique Plus. On n'était pas certain. C'était pas tout le monde qui voulait vraiment que Musique Plus débute. Not everybody was convinced. So yes, we would travel to Toronto for 2 years. Et à partir de 20h tous les soirs, when Much finished at 8 o'clock every night, Musique Plus would go on the air. So we would be on the air from 8 o'clock at night till midday. À partir de 20h jusqu'à minuit, on était live en direct des studios de MuchMusic. And we really felt like, oh my God, it's MuchMusic. And we had this little corner and we aspired to that sort of a thing. But it was, we knew we were doing something that had never been done before. How lucky are we to have been there at that time?
Yes.
I just want to say, can I just say one thing, Sean, I'm so jealous.
We want a movie.
We want a Musique Plus documentary. Sean Ménard a une obligation d'apprendre à parler en français avec son nom de famille. Et il doit faire un documentaire également sur Musique Plus parce que nos archives, je veux que les gens soient au courant que nos archives sont dans des boîtes quelque part et il faut vraiment qu'on ressorte toutes ces entrevues. We did such great work. Please, Sean, do something. I'm going to bug you. I'm going to bug you.
Alors,
believe it or not, making this film is not that profitable in Canada.
I heard.
I will help advise anybody and give them a lot of inspirational emails and phone calls if anyone wants to go down that road. It's not an easy one. Prepare to take on the music labels of this country.
So I want to ask a question to Rick Campanelli. So just like me, before entering Music Plus, I was a Music Plus fan, watching the station for hours and hours and dreaming
We're the same.
of being there. And this is what happened to you. You won the contest and then you finally ended up being a VJ. It was a dream come true for you.
It really was.
If you could go back in time, go back to MuchMusic, which era or moment would you want to go back to?
Okay. First of all, can I just say that I can't believe I'm sitting up on stage with all you here. Like,
I know, right?
You're my idols, my heroes in music. Not just the bands that were making the music, but Michael and Erica and Sonia that were introducing us to our heroes in music. But you are our heroes talking to them. So, oh gosh, what time, what era? Late 90s.
Late 90s.
For me,
Why?
we was blowing up with the boy bands, and I wasn't even into that music, to tell you the truth. I wanted to interview Nirvana. They were just no longer together when I got to MuchMusic. Of course, Kurt passing, but I love the Foo Fighters and the Chili Peppers and the Stone Temple Pilots, and that list goes on and on for me, and that was my go-to genre. But I seem to be pigeonholed into this world of boy bands, which they were good guys, they were good, you know, even the Britneys and the Christinas, but it seemed to really take off in that era.
Yeah.
It kind of looked like you were the sixth member of every
Exactly. exactly. Pierre-Landry, I have a question for you about the fact that we were very lucky to meet our idols and interview everyone who would come to town, newcomers and legends of music. We did a big live at Music Plus with REM, your favorite band. Let's talk about how it is to meet your idols and get the chance to ask questions to the people that you admire so much.
I don't remember who said this at one point, but they said, never meet your heroes because you'll be disappointed. But in the case of REM, they were so nice. And it's funny because I was seeing Erica with them very early on. Must have been, what, 85, 86? Yeah, so close to document then. I remember that night, February 19th, 1999, I believe it was.
Yes.
And I was a nervous wreck because here was, this band that I admired for so long, and that I was introduced through MuchMusic. I mean, we're talking about City Limits. A lot of those videos would play, and Christopher Ward would present them. And that night, they were so human and so down to earth. And I think most bands, and this documentary shows it exactly, we had access to bands, but in the way that we asked the questions, in the way that we all conducted ourselves, the guard was down somehow. Like we treated them like human beings and not like rock stars and like, oh my God, how is it to be great? We didn't do that. It was just, hey, how are you? And we love your music, tell us about it. And it gave us access sometimes to a side that we didn't get to see all that often. So for me, that night, and to this day, 20 plus years later, it is still a highlight of what I can consider a career.
Will always remain a common memory for us.
Yeah.
Erica, you loved. What was very touching in the movie was seeing you at the beginning, struggling and not knowing exactly how to do this, because you sort of had to invent this job in the way of hosting. We were not TV hosts, we were VJs, and it was not a studio, it was an environment, so it's sort of a different thing. You were told to be yourself. How did you manage to finally get comfortable, be confident, and know how to do this job?
Well, part of it is because my parents, there's my dad over there, they always just let my sister and I be ourselves. So I need to tell you something. You know I live here, right? You know that I used to DJ. First of all, I started working at Shom when I was 17. And then I was working at Sam the Record Man and A&A Records at the same time. And I was DJing at Broadway Live. I don't know if you remember that club. And I was DJing at Blues. Does anyone remember that club? It was the coolest club. So I DJ there for a couple of years. And Le Club Montréal, I DJ'd there, hung out with Bono the first time that he came to town in, in 1980. And then I went to university in Ottawa U. I worked at Records on Wheels, got my degree, and moved to City TV, or in Toronto, where I was answering the phones for the coolest show on TV, which was the New Music Show. And all I wanted to do, and from the time I was 17, was be a part of the scene. I really did not actually care about being famous. In fact, I had a TV show in Montreal with Richard Burrell from Shom. I had a little part in Music Video. This was before there was MuchMusic or MTV. I just wanted to talk about music. I was a huge music fan, and the opportunity to be really a curator of music was why I did my job. I wanted to tell the stories, and I wanted to connect the audience with the bands that I loved. And MuchMusic gave me that opportunity. And it was hard to leave, but I wasn't into the music the same way, and then I would be lying if I would have stayed.
I understand. Sonia Benesra, qu'est-ce que ça a représenté pour toi d'être VJ à Musique Plus? Et en parallèle, je te regardais le film et t'étais très, très touchée. Alors, où est-ce que ça t'a transporté?
Je vais parler en français et en anglais aussi, parce que je voudrais que tout le monde comprenne. First of all, I want to thank Moses Neimer. I'm emotional because he changed my life.
He changed your life.
Yeah.
Because he gave you the opportunity.
Because he believed. And I'm crying tonight because I was so lucky to meet somebody who just didn't give a shit what anybody else said to him. I found out years later, 2 ou 3 années après que j'ai commencé à Musique Plus, years later I was told that the network that was airing Musique Plus had asked Moses Neimer not to hire me because I did not represent Quebec. And I did not know that at the time, and thank God, because I was already fragile and scared enough. J'avais peur déjà. And I found out that he actually said, I'll go public with this, and I'll say what you guys said, and I'm telling you, nobody's going to tell me who the fuck to put on air. Worked really hard, but I always felt very, 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 very tied to that opportunity, and I felt that I had to prove myself all the time, which is probably why I worked so hard and had a shitty personal life, but that's a whole other show. But there's a documentary.
That's another documentary.
Mais c'était tellement important aussi pour moi de représenter tous les visages qu'on ne voyait pas à l'époque. We didn't see faces like mine. I didn't even know that, to be very honest. You know, and so everybody would stop me on the street, whether they were Greek, Egyptian, Arabic, Jewish, whatever it was. Oh, you're Egyptian, eh? You're Spanish, or what? So I'm whatever you need me to be. It's all cool. It's just all cool. But I didn't know how important that role was, and it opened a lot of doors. And in Quebec, I just want to say one thing that I'm particularly proud of is that I went on to win numerous awards, but one award which was very important many years after I had my daily show, which was, you know, I won Gemini's and People's Choice Awards, and I won Personality of the Year, and it was the first time any ethnic person had ever won that award.
Wow.
And nobody has won it since. Nobody else has won it since. So Quebec was a little slow with the ethnic representation, but they sure came along, but I was lucky. Because, you know, people said, oh, ça a dû être tellement difficile, but when you're the first, everybody watches you for the wrong reasons, but then they kind of stick around because they say, wait a second, she's actually done her research or her work. So I was very, very fortunate, and I'm sorry, I got emotional because it just took me back to it. My dream was to be an actress and be on Broadway singing some kind of musical, and life took me somewhere else.
That's a nice thing.
Life took me somewhere else, and I'm grateful for every second I had. I just felt so lucky watching this tonight. I just can't even tell you. Just so like a blessing.
Thank you, Sonia.
Let's
continue in that field, Michael, because there was a lot of mentions about breaking the barriers and the stereotypes, and I think there was a freedom of saying what we want and also presenting the music that we wanted, that we believed in on MuchMusic. You've done a lot. You've done a lot for the black music, the hip-hop community. You have given a voice, an image, and space to all these artists. Because you could, right? You could. You had the space to do it, Michael.
Well, it all started when I was a kid. It all started like that. But when I came to Montreal from Cleveland, Ohio, I made an amazing discovery. That Genesis was big here, and Genesis was huge where I came from. We saw them as an opening act for It's a Beautiful Day and Sylvester, the disco artist. They opened for them. So the wonderful thing about coming to Montreal, that musically, Cleveland, Ohio and Montreal were the same city. We listened to Genesis, we listened to Pink Floyd, we listened to Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth used to play the bar on the west side, and I'd go to see them, and the Mexican was the biggest thing next to sliced bread. And when I came to Montreal and I turned on the radio on Showman, I went, say what? It was like, I felt something special here, and so many great, good things have happened to me here. So this was fertile ground for me, and also Cleveland is an incredible music city. So 2 music cities I got to be a part of. And in terms of barriers and all of that, well, if you know me, you know I just don't really care. And I'm just going to do it anyway, and if you want to help, you can help, but if you don't want to help, just move aside and I'll get it done. And to their credit, one person in particular, because I went to show them at least 5 times before I got a job. I used to hang out with Andy Kay there, I used to hang out with Earl Jive there. Everybody that was there, I just kind of hung out and went around. But after I got off the road with the pointed sticks, I came in and I saw Rob Braid, and he says, what are you doing? I said, I really like to eat 3 times a day regular, so I'm trying to do that and keep that up. He says, yeah, we got a job here at Show'em overnight between midnight and 6. And I said, yeah? He says, yeah, you want it? Absolutely. I went in, the first thing I did, the first question I asked was, you have a card system of how you play music? They said, yes. I said, how do you cheat it? And they said, why do you want to know that? I said, then I know how it works. Then I know exactly what you're attempting to do. So I figured out how to cheat the system, and I've been cheating the system ever since.
I just want to say something about Michael that I never said to him while we worked together, but the way that Sean put the movie together really showed me how brilliant Michael was. We sat beside each other for 10 years. I annoyed him, he annoyed me. We weren't often on camera together, but I have to say, you have earned my respect watching this film. You were ahead of everybody with the music that you did.
Yes, the movie played to hip-hop music.
I will say this, Wavy One, there's a bunch of people I know in the audience tonight, people I've worked with, people I probably owe money to. And then there are some of the rappers that I worked with and people, there's Duke Eatman from CBC here someplace, I think Duke is here. But there, Duke, you over there? Cool, he's right there. Give him some, make him feel good. Also in the back there, one of my rappers from a show called Club 980 on CKGM, which was the original Soul in the City, Miss Wavy Wand from the Classy Crew. She's here. Tony Smart-Smith. Butcher T is in the house. Butcher T's Noontime Cuts on the Hill Radio. So many good things happened to me in Montreal, so I am pleased as you could possibly be here. And I really just have to say to the whole city and everybody here, so if they're not here, you tell them. By the way, catch Claude Rejat, tell them I love him. And I just want to say thank you, because if it was good, it happened to me. It happened here, it happened in Vancouver, then later MuchMusic, I got to actually have a job doing what I wanted to do. But so much happened here in Montreal, so thank you.
Can I just add one thing to that as well? We were talking about all being so darn nervous when we first started and terrible at what we did. This guy was never nervous. He was never terrible. He was always so cool as a cucumber until this day, Michael Williams. So we couldn't find any footage of Michael Williams being nervous, could we, Sean?
It didn't exist, to be honest.
It's not in his demeanor vocabulary.
That was because in part of Shom FM, which I loved, but even more so CKGM, where I did Club 980, because I knew if I did CKGM that the red light would go on if I talked too long, and Rob would be on my ass riding it. So I knew if I did CKGM, it would make me better for Shom FM, because it had to be short and it had to be good. And other than that, I just love what I do, and I started doing it here in Montreal, and that's because you let me do it, you paid attention to me do it, you liked me doing it, and yes, there was racism and there was all that stuff. People would call me in the middle of the night, you fucking nigger, and here I am. But that helped me too. My enemies even helped me, because they taught me patience. They taught me that I didn't have to go there. And when it happened at MuchMusic, because it did happen at MuchMusic, quite heavily so that I had to call the police once or twice. But I am from Cleveland, I didn't need them.
Rick, what I wanted to talk to you about, Rick, was the fact that one of the stars, I mean, there are many stars in this documentary, but the fans have always been so important and present and made what MuchMusic was also. And there's something really cool that you're saying at some point, that when it becomes really, really chaotic, like really loud, and you feel that you have more control. It was like driving you. It could be super complicated to concentrate in a situation like that, but it was giving you fuel. Like, remind us how it was to host in huge situations like that.
Well, we all lived those moments, whether it was Music Plus or MuchMusic, and we loved. Did we not love when those streets were filled with people? Because that's what it was all about, the music fan getting to experience what us as VJs were living on a daily basis. When Jay-Z came to town, when No Doubt came to town, R.E.M., whoever it was, when the fans got to be so close to those musical heroes of theirs, well, that's what it was all about for us. It really was it not?
Well, there's also something about chaos. The whole chaotic nature of having a huge crowd in the environment and being live, not knowing what the hell is going to happen next.
You have to be ready for anything.
And the technical fuck-ups that often happen, and you have to come back and just fill time.
Yeah.
You've got your floor director in front of you doing this, and the light is red in front of you, and you're in front of an audience, and they're doing this.
Exactly.
And I feel like in the film, you really got that. You capture that. I mean, think about the number of hours of film that Sean had to go through, because he actually was too young. He didn't even know who I was, by the way, when he started to research the film. He's so young that he had never watched me or heard of me at all. Same thing with Michael. Wow. So imagine the amount of effort it took for Sean to find all that footage and to build that arc and to understand the importance of the audience from really day one for MuchMusic. That is what makes MuchMusic and really all of Moses's vision so different, is that he respects the audience. And I don't know if anybody else, I was told that I am no more important than anyone else who is watching the show.
Exactly.
And I think you really captured that, Sean, in the film, the essence of the audience and the respect that Moses and all the VJs had.
I just wanted to ask Sean something, because Erica was just saying, you're so young, you didn't know any of us really. Why did you have this obsession that you actually wanted to do this documentary of all the documentaries you could have made? You didn't grow up with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really put me on the
Tell me.
Why, Sean? Why?
I don't like when people tell me enough times you can't do something, and I really believe that this film needed to exist. And that was one of the early conversations I had sitting down with Erica and sitting down with Michael. I discovered them through YouTube. And what was interesting is YouTube played a major part in crushing and killing MuchMusic. But what happened was a lot of people would understand they could only see something one time, so they would record it on their VHS.
Right.
And then years later, and predominantly during the COVID years, with a lot of time on their hands, I guess, they started uploading them to YouTube. So this wave of videos, and so I felt in our country, sometimes we don't celebrate our history, a lot of the positivity, a lot of the great groundbreaking. It took an American film festival to put this on, for them to recognize and say to me, we've never seen anything like this before. And I think in Canada, we took it for granted a little bit because we thought that was the norm, but they were really a part of making groundbreaking music journalism that never existed before. And the tape didn't lie. There was a reason I wanted to live just in archives. I wanted to bring people back, people that experienced it, that never experienced it before, what it was like to tune in to watch MuchMusic. There was a lot of magic. There was a lot of teenagers without cell phones, captivated, locked in, and there's a real beauty in these fleeting moments. So it was great to see that from the audience. I'm not sure of the format tonight, but we're kind of loose, but I would love to have some questions in the audience.
Yes, this is intimate and interactive.
I heard that before.
Oh, I see a colleague from Music Plus, Eric Cohen.
Thank you very much. Hi guys, thank you. Premièrement, merci pour toute cette soirée. I'll ask my questions in English. I did work at Music Plus. I worked with a lot of you. Even Rick, we worked at ET Canada together. It's Eric Cohen. Yeah. Don't have the hair anymore. But it's really nice to see you, Michael and Erica. I hadn't met you before. Erica, when you mentioned the thing about being hot on TV, I had a huge crush. So
take a number.
and Michael, for what it's worth, I had a babysitter when I was a kid who was friends with you, and I thought she was the coolest person in the world because she was friends with you. I don't even remember her name. She was a dental hygienist. The question is, how much crossover was there? How much collaboration between Music Plus and MuchMusic happened? And by the way, Sean, thank you. This was a beautiful documentary. And I want to know how you guys interacted together and you know, what things were in common and what was different about the two cultures.
I'm going to start with one thing is very often some artists were not coming to Montreal, so I had to fly to Toronto to interview them. Right after the MuchMusic interview, I would get some time to do an interview for Music Plus. The only time I really collaborated was when Madonna was live at MuchMusic. It was March 6, 1998, for the release of Ray of Light. Master T was hosting, and they flew me in with contest winners who had the chance to ask a question to Madonna. So I was sort of holding them and helping them ask a question to Madonna and make sure they wouldn't faint or go mute or panic, or she's very impressive, very intimidating. So that was like one of the rare times that we really did something together. Sometimes I would maybe introduce an award at the MuchMusic Awards. But I think Sonia had more interactions with the MuchMusic.
Yeah, I'm lucky. It was the first years, so like I said, I was there every week. We used to fly there, and we used to go on live from 8 o'clock till midnight. And I used to stay at a place called the Carlton Hotel. And every time I'd finish work, I'd go, and all of a sudden, all these guys would say, hey. So I'd call my friends, and you know what? I think the guys in Toronto think I'm hotter than the guys in Montreal. And then I found out that, hey, you're staying at a hooker hotel. We don't have a lot of money. It was not about the money. You know, we didn't have any hairdressers. We didn't have any makeup artists. We looked at each other. We said, hey, I love your jacket. I like your this, or a bracelet. We'd go to the bathroom to do our makeup. And we learned a lot from watching each other. I mean, I used to love watching the Much staff, you know, the Much crew go on air. And we were different, I think. There was something different. I remember John would like to sort of say, see how they did that? You guys should do that. And then we do the same to you guys. See how the French keys did that? You guys should do some of that. So we learned from each other, we helped each other, but we really were two separate entities.
But you know what we have to, at least I must talk about Natalie Richard.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Natalie Richard, who couldn't be here tonight, was a bilingual VJ on MuchMusic.
Yeah.
So she would go, bonjour, it's me, Natalie, French kiss, you know, and she would speak in English, sometimes in French. But to me, that was another brilliant thing. Talk about bringing the country together.
Yeah.
To have somebody with an actual French accent, speaking English, occasionally French. She became a very good friend of mine, and she really
wonderful girl.
She was she brought the two worlds together. So hi Natalie, I wish you were here.
C'est vrai, Nathalie Richard qui a été animatrice à Musique Plus pendant plusieurs années avant de partir vers MuchMusic. You have a question for us.
Just ask the question.
This is not a question. This is directed directly to Mike Williams. First of all, I think we should salute Sean, the director, an incredible job.
Yes.
I just want to comment on the importance of the work you did tonight. And first of all, acknowledge the impact that these people have had up here. I've been admiring everybody on this stage. Pierre and I worked together for a few years in Music Plus. Sonia and I worked together for a day at CBC, rather. I've been in broadcasting for 33 years. In January, it'll be 20 with the CBC. I've had a very successful career. I won awards, I've written books. I just got off the news tonight to come here. But the only reason that I do what I do is because as a 14-year-old, I watched Michael Williams. As a black teenager, I watched this black man on TV. I listened to him first on CKGM, hosting the country's first hip-hop radio show. It didn't start in Toronto. It started right here in Montreal, Club 980, and then I watched him on TV. I was just a kid, and I said, wow, I can do that because he's doing it. Mike, you made me. Thank you. I talk to Mike every week, almost every day, but every week to get advice on what it is that I should do on CBC. And so although I'm an admirer of everybody up there, Mike, you're responsible for any success I've ever had. Thank you, sir.
Yes?
I got a question, yeah.
Okay.
Ron Rockstar Media.
So listen, you guys, thanks so much, first of all, for bringing great music to everybody here and across Canada and in supporting Canadian music. So, and it was so sad that when we saw the fall of MTV and MuchMusic going to reality shows and less music. So I want to make my question not just music-oriented, but of course video-oriented. So I want to go down the line for each of you, and could you tell everybody here tonight, what is your all-time favorite music video? All-time. Each person.
I like that.
Let's keep it music.
Okay.
Great, I'm the first one to go. I mean, geez, there are so many. I mean, you know, I was a kid. I was 11 years old when MuchMusic came on the air.
Okay, let's say when you were a VJ.
Okay, well, I was going to say Michael Jackson's Thriller, but okay.
Yeah?
When I was a VJ, I'm going to say it's either between Everlong by the Foo Fighters, because it was such an interesting way to make a music video. I think of a lot of Radiohead videos.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many. Il y en a tellement. Il y a des vidéoclips québécois qui ont été fantastiques au cours des années aussi.
Ouais.
Je pense au clip de Denis Villeneuve, qui maintenant est devenu
un grand réalisateur.
Un grand réalisateur
le
de
clip
cinéma.
Ensorcelé de Daniel Bélanger.
Exactement.
Par Denis Villeneuve, c'est super.
You know, there's one thing about, you know, the documentary features a lot of VJs and features a lot of music, but we also have to think about those who work behind the cameras. You know, the industry as a whole, and you know, Denis Villeneuve is an example, but so many different music video directors then became film directors. A lot of people who worked as camera people now work in the industry as well. I mean, it was such a, you know, I'm looking for the right word, but une pépinière. Like, you know, so many people came out of MuchMusic and Music Plus, even to this day, working in the industry. I mean, it's remarkable.
I wanted to piggyback off his point there. Favorite music video, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana. There is a real beauty in what was going on back then. There was a real freedom of limitations. Because there wasn't money to throw at something, you have to solve it creatively, and sometimes you end up getting a better result. You end up having a lot more, something that wouldn't have normally existed. So what I found with going through the archives of MuchMusic and why it had so much beauty is I feel like that's been in our DNA as Canadians. They were making things that were uniquely Canadian, no one was doing around the world. They had all these obstacles, but they found ways to solve it, and somewhere along the lines we forgot about that. So I really want the biggest takeaway when this eventually launches on Crave in December, and anyone that's watching it tonight, is you don't need those big budgets. I turn on Canadian television now, and I see Amazing Race Canada, or Traders Canada, Rick's in Canada, but I actually really enjoy that show, and I hope you pull it out. Well, my point on that is that somewhere along the lines we forgot about what made Canada so special and groundbreaking, and we started kind of bucking the trend, which MuchMusic started to eventually do.
I think the beauty of that too is we were very lucky because nobody expected us to be hot or to work. I mean, other television stations were just like, music reviews, MuchMusic. Yeah, they shoot shows with one camera and they don't have a sound guy or anything. But then, lo and behold, they all started to copy, you know, the way they used to shoot. They used to laugh at us first. In comedy shows, you would see them with the camera going like this, making fun of the way Music Plus would shoot something. But then, slowly, you would see them incorporate that in their regular thing, and all of a sudden, we had an opportunity to make mistakes because nobody was watching. They didn't think we were going to be a competition, and that was an opportunity of a lifetime. So we made our errors, we did things our way, and the best thing to tell somebody is to be yourself, because we sure as hell didn't know who we were. So we just grew up in front of the television with everybody else who was watching. We made fashion mistakes like nobody's business, and those will follow us for eternity, but there was something so honest about the whole thing. There was no make-believe, there was nobody powdering your nose. I used to carry the camera with my cameraman, and I don't know if you know what battery belts at the time weighed. They used to give them to you. I used to run and try to look cute in a pair of high heels. By the time I got to the interview, I was dripping wet, and I would take the muff part of the microphone and go like this, right before starting an interview. But that was the magic of the time. I don't think we've ever seen that since, and I don't know if we'll ever see that again.
I think that everyone who has worked on MuchMusic or Music Plus can say that it's one of the best jobs they've had in their lives.
And the hardest.
And also the fact that we had so much freedom. I could be in the editing room with an editor putting a piece together with, like, let's say we have like a Radiohead interview with music videos that we could, you know, stick together, edit together, and then realize this would look much better in black and white. Let's just switch it to black and white, you know, and then put it on the air right away. There is no television station network in the world where you can, without asking permission, turn something to black and white and put it on the air right away. There's a hierarchy of people that you have to consult and ask.
So try to get a show done today, you can die in the process. Actually, you probably will die in the process. They just don't do it like that.
Exactly.
So what's your favorite video?
Yeah.
That's going to crack people up, because one of the worst videos I've ever seen is Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. But I did not give a shit, because when I hosted Rock Velour, I made sure I played Sexual Healing, and I didn't care how bad that video. So it became one of my favorites, but it's horrible. Please watch it, but that song is so great. So I don't know, I got a lot, but that sticks in my head.
My favorite video is What's a Frequency Kenneth by R.E.M. It stays, it remains to this day my favorite video. I still have goosebumps when I watch it. The way it's filmed, the colors, the framings, the way Michael Stipe moves, it's just everything. What about you?
I have two that I can think of off the top of my head. The first one is I'm an Adult Now by The Pursuit of Happiness. Because it was raw, it was Canadian, it was real, they were my friends, they shot it down the street, so I really felt connected to that one. And then, I don't remember what song it's called, maybe you remember, but Zbigniew Rybczynski directed this video that it was like super cool, and it had these dwarves in it, and it was shot really kooky. No, not Men Without Hats and Ivan, no. Art of Noise, I think it was Art of Noise. I love that video.
You, Michael?
Let's see. When I joined MuchMusic, they told me, okay, Nancy gave me the talk after they said, I went on my first day, I wore my Shom FM jacket, because that's all I really had. I flew down to Toronto, I stayed at a hotel where Prince's future wife and her mother were at that hotel. It was the crappiest hotel in the world. It was terrible. I thought, oh my God, they're going to put me up in shitty hotels the whole time. Okay, fine. I go into MuchMusic, I walk in on the 3rd floor, you're on in 10 minutes. They give me the rundown. Okay, fine. My first interview in 10 minutes was Run DMC. It was that first record with Rockbox. We had already killed it on Shom, I think, and also on CKGM for sure. Then the next interview, 10 minutes later, was Lou Reed. A god. And so I turned to Lou Reed and I say, he says, he wasn't in a good mood. Lou Reed was like ready to stab me. He was not in a good mood at all. I did a Montreal thing. I said, how's Garland Jeffries? And he says, you know Garland? I said, he's a good friend of mine. Everybody in Montreal knows Garland, right? So all of a sudden his face changed, his demeanor changed, his body changed, and he kind of got friendly. There's no such thing as a friendly Lou Reed. I said, do you know Run DMC? He said, no. I said, New York meet Brooklyn and Queens, and they met right there. I was like, if I can do that here, I can stay, because that was the breath of music that I wanted to work with right there on my very first day. What's my favorite video? Run DMC, Rockbox. And for the weird folks like me, Ministry, Over the Shoulder.
Wow, yeah. Rick?
Yeah, okay. There were so many amazing videos being made when I was at MuchMusic between 96 to 2005. Hype Williams was doing some amazing things. Missy Elliott was coming out with some really whacked out videos. But I love the humorous videos. So Blink 182 were really doing it for me back then with What's My Age Again or whatever video they were coming out with. They were making me laugh. And I like to laugh. So, and then going back to Eric's question, the interaction between MuchMusic and Music Plus. Yeah, Genevieve, I always remember it. When it was a big interview, I remember seeing your face in the Much environment because, well, Genevieve's going to be doing the Music Plus interview after whatever VJ's going to be doing in Toronto. And then Music Plus invited me to one of your Christmas parties one year. Yeah, you remember? I don't remember anything about it. But it was the best time. I was in this room. It all looks familiar. But I remember an interview with Britney Spears came up the day after. I don't know if you guys got the same interview, but I was so drunk that night, thanks to you all over there. And I remember I had to interview Britney Spears, and that was via satellite, so it wasn't as bad as being side by side, because she would have smelled the alcohol on me. But don't remember much about the party. Don't remember much about that interview with Britney Spears the next day, because I think, thanks to you, I was still kind of drunk. But I also like doing those junkets.
We party hard.
You party hard!
Yeah.
Way better than the MuchMusic Christmas parties I've tried. Thank you. But going down and doing all those junkets that we did, well, you guys were always with us. Yeah. Whether it was Shelly or yourselves or Anne-Marie or all the other Music Plus VJs, and we really became friends along those trips. And I wish that more of you guys were here tonight, but a lot of you couldn't make it. But we were brothers and sisters for many years.
Yeah, we were the little sister station. Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you interview a rock star? So, one of the first things I've learned is never ask a question that can be asked by yes or no. Make sure, because what you might get is, yeah, no, I don't know. So you have to make sure. Oh, yes, open-ended. The interview you did with Kurt Cobain, Erica, is absolutely wonderful. It is the only time that I felt I could have a glimpse of what he was really about, you know? And I want to congratulate you again for that. So, what have you learned through the years? Because I think doing interviews is one of your favorite things, what you like the most. How do you interview a rock star and make it work?
I would say I just like curious, and I like connecting with people. I like looking them in the eye and just asking them a question and having a conversation. I personally don't like when people put me on a pedestal. So I assume that no one likes to have a sycophant around them or someone who says, oh, I think you're the greatest thing. It sort of makes you feel uncomfortable, right? So I do the opposite and I treat them like they're so average and interesting. And I think that people feel comfortable because they don't have to put on a show. They can just be themselves because I just think that they're like a normal person. And I think that in life, you just should treat people like that as well. People who you think that are maybe intimidating, just talk to them like they're human and they will relax around you.
My composer of the film, Thomas Caffey, he composed my last film, The Carter Effect, and then he just came off doing The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan series on Netflix. And when I sent him the rough cut of 299 Queen Street West, he said to me he grew up watching MTV. And although he had seen these musician stars before, he'd never seen them like this. And they were real, genuine, unique individuals being real, like you all talked about. And I think that's a testament to the individuals that were interviewing them on camera. And we're gonna have to wrap it up because I can't afford overtime fees in this building. But I just wanna say thank you to everybody on stage here tonight for being a part of the show. Thank you to everybody in the audience.
Merci.
Go buy swag, go buy t-shirts, because he's not making any more. They're going to be collector's items. I told him that he should open up an online store. He goes, no, I'm not getting into that industry. So grab your t-shirts and your sweatshirts and your toques because they're going to sell out and there'll be no more.
And if you see anybody that lives in one of these cities behind us, please feel free to recommend. I've also, my marketing budget, not the best. But I want to thank you. Yes, social media, right? He's got almost 100,000 followers. I'm going to take you up on that. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Yes.